One of the biggest questions we get is giving. People are watching our live streams. People are joining our church online, but they can't give. We can't pass a plate. We can't ask them to drop money off in the box on their way out. In today's show, we're going over online giving, digital giving, online tithing, whatever you want to call it. What you need in the features of a church giving service, a church giving app. We're going to talk about all that today so you can, again, use your live stream to benefit your church in more ways than just getting the message out. You can also encourage people to give. My name is Justin Nava. I'm part of the Church Media Guys. Dave is on vacation today, so with me, I have a fantastic guest. Before I introduce him, I want to make sure that you don't miss something we're doing. We're broadcasting across multiple channels, but if you're on YouTube, if you're on the Church Media Guys YouTube channel and you're not, hit subscribe, hit the bell so that way you don't miss a new video. We're doing multiple videos a week. And if you're a fan of just live streaming in general and using technology and streaming to get your message out there, whether you're a business, a church, a creator, an entrepreneur, a solopreneur, whatever you want, the eCamm Network YouTube channel is going to be a great resource, and they're doing, I would say, dozens of streams every week. So if you're watching on their channel, hit the subscribe button and hit the notification button so you don't miss a beat. With me, since Dave is not here, we have the wonderful, fantastic Jonathan Carone is with us. Jonathan, how are you today, sir?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I am doing extremely well. I'm very excited to have you here. I've been a little bit of a fanboy of yours. I don't know where I stumbled upon you. I just stumbled upon you, I think, on Twitter or something. And I was like, oh man, this guy's Story Brand certified, creates killer websites, does some amazing consulting, really knows about his stuff. I'm going to ask you to move a little bit to your left, I think, just to get you a little bit. There we go. Perfect. Jonathan is here. Let me pull up your bio. I should have this all here. You are I'm going to say this like you don't know it. If for anyone that doesn't know that's listening, Jonathan is a business owner, podcast host, and former church communications and creative director. Everything he does is centered around trying to make you successful at whatever you do, whether it's business, your church, or personal life. His goal is going to help you in any way he can. Jonathan, to introduce you to the people watching, I'm going to give you some quick fire questions. These are not prepared. Okay. These are not in our notes. I want off the cuff reactions. Ready?
That's scary for you.
Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
Okay. Coffee or tea?
Neither.
I'm going to take a big old sip here. Strike one. Take a sip here from my eCamm mug.
Is this where I drink my Dr. Pepper?
Oh, no, that's fine. I'll accept it. Yeah. But let's go with Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars.
Star Wars. Okay. Last question. The Office or Friends?
How I Met Your Mother.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you so much, Jonathan, for being on the show. Appreciate you being here. I'm kidding. How I Met Your Mother is actually like my second. I think it's third. Community, The Office, and then How I Met Your Mother. Would you agree, How I Met Your Mother, real quick, it's about the journey, not the destination? Is that why you like it? Okay.
Correct. 100%.
Awesome. Well, we are talking about digital giving today. We get this question a lot in the Church Media Guys, and actually, eCamm Live asked us to do this show. We are a live streaming show. eCamm is a live streaming software and communications network, content network about live streaming. But so many churches finding eCamm Live to broadcast their service, especially in these unprecedented times. A lot of these questions come to eCamm, so eCamm asked us to do a show on online giving, digital tithing, whatever you want to call it. So question of the day, I want to know, are you collecting tithes and offerings? If you're watching online, are you collecting tithes and offerings online? Are you using digital giving, or are you still relying on people mailing in checks, dropping off cash, maybe even Zelling you? That's kind of online giving, but it's really more of a bank transfer. We're talking about this because, quite honestly, more church is online now, right? And just as we stream online, we try to disciple online, we try to communicate online, and we've come to a point where really we need to collect tithes and offerings online. There's a lot of just drawbacks of physical giving anyways. A lot of people don't understand the what physical giving does to the administrative side, and also the risks included. I have a client, Jonathan, in Maryland, and when the pandemic started, a trend in their community and in their area is that church mailboxes became a target of theft. Basically, people were breaking into lock boxes at the church, looking for those checks, knowing that people were probably giving via that method now that they weren't going to church. And I'm sure they hoped that someone was going to drop off an envelope of cash. I thought that was really interesting. Have you seen anything like that recently?
I haven't heard of it recently, but I do remember growing up, my grandpa was my pastor, and our back door of the church was broken into multiple times. This was before online giving was a thing, and it was because people were looking for the money. And they saw a church, and they realized people give money to a church, and so they came in and were trying to do it. So that's not just pandemic type of things. That's been happening for 30, 40, 50 years.
100%. It's been happening. And perhaps, again, just in this area of my client in Maryland, it's, and I don't mean to bash Maryland. It's a great state, great, beautiful land. It's unfortunately something that they saw an uptick. So there are drawbacks of physical giving anyway, and we're going to talk about why should we give online. How do we know what the right app? We're going to talk about some hard truths about online giving, and we're going to talk about some features that the giving app. And then at the end, Jonathan and I are going to give some of our favorite apps that we've used, not just because we like them, but because I'm sure, especially my recommendations, clients have had a really good experience, and I've had a good experience integrating it with their websites. Before we go any further, I want to let you guys know that we are streaming this live on eCamm. So go to getecamm.com if you want to try it yourself. You get a 14-day free trial, no credit card required. Play around with it, go live with it, look at all the different features. You've got comments and reactions in line with the software. You've got overlays, obviously. Here, getecamm.com. You can do split screen if you want to bring in people to interview, or, if you have to do your worship remotely, you can bring in, for example, an elder or a deacon to pray, just like I'm bringing in Jonathan here. It's a really good streaming platform. We really enjoy it. We use it here at Church Media Guys, in addition to other things, other software. But eCamm is my favorite because it's the easiest. I'm not a tech guy. I like focusing on other things than the tech, and eCamm makes it easy for me to do that. So if you want to try it for yourself, go to getecamm.com. That link tells them that the Church Media Guy sent you, and we would appreciate you using that link. Give it a try. Like I said, it's no risk, not even a credit card. So if you don't like it, they're not going to hound you, or they're not going to bill you because they don't have that information. So go try it, getecamm.com. We've got some stuff coming in. A really good question here. Can you put a donate button on a pre-show reminder or email with a link to the live stream? You can absolutely do that. I would not, though, because anytime you add more than one link in an email, it increases your chances in going into spam or the promotions tab. So try to keep it to one link. So since you're doing hey, we're going live now email, you probably don't want to put a donate button there, because then it increases the chances people won't see it. Let's get into online giving. So first question
Hey,
we
can I say
have.
something with that too?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Another a piece of that as well is if you are promoting your service and giving at the same time, it's going to come across as if you just care about people's money and not about the actual worship service. So I would say there's a time and a place to send out the giving email. Sending out an email to tell people, to remind, hey, here are all the ways we can give this week, blah, blah, blah. That's a great thing, but I wouldn't do those in the same place just for that reason.
Yeah, and that's, again, the incredible balance we need between technology and messaging. I just talked about technology for 30 seconds. Jonathan hit about what is that communicating, actually. A great balance that we all need to have, and why we're having discussions like this on a Stream Your Church show. We just don't want to talk about technology. We want to talk about communicating. So real quick, this is going to be an FAQ style, so we've got some questions queued up. If you have a question, again, on topic, we can answer it. Put hashtag question in the chat. Question, why should we give online? I have some thoughts here. I've written some down. Jonathan, why do you think we should offer online? We're not talking about online only, but why should we offer online as an option for people giving?
Because no one carries a checkbook anymore. I mean, if I'm being honest, and if I'm in the shortest sentence possible, I had to go searching for my checkbook the other day when I had to give someone a check. I didn't know where it was. And most people under a certain age, and the age will vary depending on area probably, they both don't carry a checkbook and don't carry a pen to fill out the check that they don't carry. But they do have a cell phone. They likely have their credit card or their debit card saved into their cell phone. They also have a computer that they likely have their credit or debit card signed in or saved into. So by giving online, you allow people, when they're doing their budgeting weekly or their whatever it is, It's just another step in the process. They can give it right there. Personally, so for me, as a contractor, I'll just use myself as an example. As someone who does not have a salary, what I bring in varies from week to week. I pay different amount of tithes every single week. But when I sit down to do my accounting for my business, part of what I do right there is pay my tithes. And it's just part of my process. I don't have to wait till Sunday because I haven't been to church since March.
Yeah, I think that's really good. Just real practical right there. I mean, even my dad, he makes it a big deal. He prefers putting cash in the basket as it comes by. And he would make a big deal about, oh, I got to go to the bank today because it's Saturday and I got to get there before noon to make sure I have cash to give tomorrow, Sunday. And like, you got to have some forethought. A lot of people don't have that forethought. Another thing, a big thing for me working in churches since 2006 is the administrative overhead. People really underestimate the administrative overhead physical giving takes. Not only do you have to have secure tracking, so you collect the money, but that money's got to go somewhere, and it's got to go somewhere securely. So first of all, you've got to have the labor to have all the baskets being passed around, but then to be gathered and then to be securely and accountably taken to the back, counted up twice, input it into the system, probably that Sunday, whatever. So people are going to be missing church or missing lunch with their families. And then also safely stored until Monday when the bank opens so that they can then take it out of the safe, recount it again to make sure that it matches Sunday's records, add in any Dropbox or additional checks that were dropped off Sunday night or cash, and then securely transferred to the bank, input it in, and then brought back to the church and then synced up with the online tracking that we're using to track your what do they call it? The tax part of it.
Then you have to, then the other piece of it is the administration of making sure everyone gets credit for their gifts from a tax standpoint.
Yes. Tracking the tax write-off. There you go. And also just tracking your donations in general. I mean, technically a church doesn't have to, but it's a really good thing. Otherwise you're going to have a bunch of headaches trying to track down receipts and show the IRS that you gave. So imagine you could save all that time. There's a lot of administrative overhead, and especially if you're a smaller church, it's the pastor that has to do all that stuff. And to do it well and securely, the pastor's the one that's going to do it. Anytime you can save on administration, you're going to free up not only physical hours, but mental bandwidth that the pastor can then use to focus on shepherding, discipling, and ministering to his flock. You also have, with online giving, you eliminate a lot of the administrative overhead, but you can also automate tracking. A lot of the church software that we talk about, specifically for churches, are built to integrate into church management systems, Planning Center, CCB, what's the ACS, a whole bunch of them. They integrate into them. They automatically go into that. So all you have to do is say, oh, this $20 came from Jonathan. The accounting software will log it as a donation. Then it will sync into Jonathan's profile where he can then log in and get his tax statement. So at the end of the year or beginning of next year, you're not going to get a phone call from Jonathan asking for a printout. He can go get it himself. And then you can also save costs on printing and mailing like that. Another benefit. Go ahead.
So one of the best pushes I've ever seen a church do for online giving was a campaign called Automate the Important. And the pastor they did a video and they talked about this, but they talked about how your mortgage is automated. Your gym membership is automated. These things come out automatically. You don't even touch it. It just happens. So it's part of your rhythm. And for salaried employees, the push was if you get the same paycheck every 2 weeks, go ahead and automate your tithes show that it's important to you, to God, to whatever, and automate that. And their giving went up like 10 or 20% right away, just because people can set it and forget it. So not only is your job getting easier, but you're also going to be able to bring in more money because it's convenient for people.
Right. And we do get to that with auto pay. Now, a lot of churches.
We are getting there, my bad.
A lot of churches, well, okay, sorry. Let's tack on to that. A lot of churches and a lot of pastors, and this is where we're going to ask you to put on your big boy pants, okay? A lot of churches and pastors say, we don't like that. We believe and we teach and we preach and we practice literal tithing, which means first tenth, which means you cannot designate something to come out of your check that you haven't gotten yet, and you cannot automate it because It may come out on Monday. You get paid on Friday. That gives you the whole weekend to spend, and therefore your tithe is not your first tenth because you've spent. Okay, we get that. We understand that. Guess
I would say
what?
that's wrong.
You would say that's wrong. Other pastors would say not. Okay, we get that. Guess what? You don't have to auto tithe. You can just tell your congregation, don't auto tithe and still accept online giving. I personally don't believe that it's a requirement. However, my family, we do first tenth. Okay, when that transaction, when that credit comes into the account, I bring out my phone. I calculate a tenth or whatever I feel like cheerfully giving. Sometimes it might be 8%. Sometimes it might be 12%. Whatever it's going to be, I give that. That's the first thing I do when a payment comes in, whether it's through my wife's payday or through a client paying me. I manually do it because that's part of my family's definition of cheerful giving. Okay. That I believe is a Christian liberty, okay? And I believe you have a liberty to believe something else. I love that people can and want to do automatic payment. I don't think you're less of a Christian. You do you, I'll do me. I'm a strong believer in Christian liberty. So just because auto pay is a feature of online giving, it does not mean that all online giving is a sin, even if you don't believe in that one feature. It's kind of like saying, I'm not going to have a Netflix account because they have rated R movies and documentaries on social issues that I don't agree with. That's dumb. Get Netflix, just don't watch those shows. Watch the kids shows, watch the movies and TV shows that you enjoy. Watch The Office for the 163rd time. Just leave that alone and you do you, okay? And Jonathan can do auto pay, and if you're Jonathan's pastor and you think that's not right, you can pull Jonathan aside and talk to him about that and figure it out from there. But
my pastor was on here a minute ago, and he's all for auto pay, so we're
but
good.
don't dismiss the entire system just because auto pay is a feature that you disagree with theologically, right? And I believe that's a liberty issue. So you do you, and I'll do me. Jonathan, any other ideas on why we should have online as an option before we get to figuring out what the right app is?
I think one of the things that I would say it's a way to serve your people. It's a form of servant leadership because you are doing something that is going to make their following Jesus easier. You're helping them follow the commands of Jesus, which is giving cheerfully. You're making them able to do that in a way that is more convenient, easier to them. So you're taking away a barrier to someone following Jesus. And the flip side of that would be someone would say, well, you're making it lazy and they don't have to think about it as much. Okay, maybe so. But I'm of the bent that if we're going to, following Jesus is very hard. There are a lot of hard things to do about that. If we can make the giving aspect, which is one of the more emotional and harder to follow pieces of it, easier, then I'm all for it.
100%. Jonathan, if you have a board or something, see if you can turn up your input just a little bit. They're saying you're a little bit soft, and I got you maxed out on my end. We're going to hit really quickly on how do we know what will be the right app for our church. We've got some features that you should look for, some features that you should make sure you don't have. I just want to preface it, and Jonathan, maybe you have a different philosophy, which is why I love having you here. Honestly, I say everything works. Everything works. Everything will take someone's money and donate it to you. They will do it in different ways. They will do it with different automations. They will do it with different integrations. The key is to do your research and pick something that gels with your current workflow and your current setup. Okay. Everything works. You just got to do a little bit of research, maybe try some demos and pick the one that's right for you. And the great thing is with these digital tools, most of them, you're not signing a year-long, 2-year, 5-year contract. Most of them, you can try it for a few months. And if it doesn't work, you lost some man hours and that's about it. Do you have anything else about, just the process of picking the right app?
Find what works for you and go with it.
Find what works and go with it. Yeah.
Test them out, see what works. And I will say this, one thing I have found is that the product that you think is flashiest, that you love the most, oftentimes isn't the one you need to use because it may not have the exact things you want. For example, I have a church that I work with that they wanted to use Planning Center. They really, really, really wanted to use Planning Center, but because they use that for their service, like for the volunteers and everything, so it would have been easy. They use it for groups and everything. But their church management system, they use Realm.
Mm.
And between that and the accounting processes they already had in place, it made more sense for them to use Realm. Even though Realm for them was a little more confusing and they didn't love everything about it, it served their church the best. So that's what they went with instead of what was maybe the flashiest, prettiest product.
Yeah, and I think and I would totally completely agree with that. Let's talk about some truths about online tithing, online giving, and we'll use these terms interchangeably. Again, put on your big boy pants. I say tithing, I say giving. You might call it offerings. Get over it. We know what we're talking about. So I like to put it this way: death, taxes, and processing fees, things you cannot escape in life. We've come to the point where there are going to be processing fees. That's just a method of doing business. If you remember, not you don't see it so much anymore because I think a lot of it's either the U.S. or it's statewide that they used to put credit card minimums. So, for example, if you're going to pay with a credit card, you need to spend at least $5. That was to help offset the processing fees because they didn't want to for you to buy something that was $1 and then they have to pay 26 or 27 cents to the credit card processor. They'd rather give a smaller chunk by making you buy something larger. I think that got done away with by some law, either by states or by U.S. But processing fees are just a part of doing business, just like getting a check and going to the bank to deposit it and then waiting 3 days for it to clear before you actually have the money in hand is a part of doing business. Now, some apps, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, some apps will allow donors to cover the fees. So if I give $100, I will get a pop-up that says, hey, would you like to cover the processing fees and give $103? And the data says something like 80% of the people will say yes. So you may not even have to have the processing fees, quote unquote, come out of your pocket. But the ultimate goal, like Jonathan, you mentioned before, you have giving going up because of this. So would you rather, from this one person or this one family, would you rather have $0 from them because they don't carry cash and checkbook? Or would you rather have $19.17 based on that? Even that sounds like a lot taken off from a $20 donation. It might actually be 71 cents. But anyways, that's just one quick truth about death, taxes, and processing fees. 3 things you cannot escape. You had mentioned a website here in the show notes. Tell us about givingfees.com.
Yeah, so givingfees.com, you can go in and choose if you're a nonprofit or church. And what it does is you put in the amount of monthly transactions you have and about how much it is, and you can play with the numbers. And it will tell you the different giving software, what will your processing fees be for that month. And so it's a great way from a financial standpoint. And this was put together by from Casey, who and any of the actual products. So this was just done to serve churches and let them know better. So there's no bent from a marketing standpoint, but it'll tell you exactly how much your processing fees would be based off of your normal giving to help you make a better decision financially.
I'm glad you mentioned that. That's really cool. And then also another truth that again gets people's pants in a wad is I don't want to get flagged by YouTube. There really is, as far as I know, and the apps that I've used, there's no discerning between a credit card and a debit. It's not a matter of we accept debit cards. It's a matter of we accept Visa, MasterCard, Discover, and American Express, and whatever else. In the software, there is no discerning. It does not know whether someone is giving out of their bank account or giving out of their line of credit. Okay. This upsets a lot of pastors. And again, I would say, let's handle it with liberty and say, either you trust your people. If you say, let's give by debit, we don't believe as a church by giving off of credit. You got to trust your people that that's what they'll do. You can do some signage or whatever. But if that's an offset, that's going to be something that you're going to have to get over. Jonathan, you've got a confession to make?
The flip side is I have worked with churches who they don't accept debit or credit cards. They only do ACH.
Only
so
ACH,
that is one way around.
That is another option.
It's another variable you have to consider because people have to get their checkbook out to put the ACH information in there.
Well, a lot of banking apps, you can pull your account numbers now off the app. You used to not be able to do that. Now you can.
So what you were getting at is what I put in the notes here, and it's a confession that I have because I pay my tithes with my credit card because I want the card benefits. Whether it's miles or hotel or points or whatever, I want the benefits, and my only saving grace with that is that the idea came from my senior pastor that I used to work for. He was the one that told me he did that, and I thought it was genius because he told me they went on vacation one year, and his family used the flight miles from the credit card from the past 3 or 4 years of tithing, which I thought was genius. So you're still paying. I pay it off right away. So I'm kind of gaming the system that way, which I'm sure there are people who will tell me I'm theologically horrible and doing things I shouldn't. But
I know some pastors that would say that. However, I think our friend Doug Doppler, who was on the show last week, he left a comment. He said, specifically talking about tithe, but I think it applies. He said the heart of the tithe is to set aside the first tenth for the church on Sunday. It's not payday. It's setting aside the first tenth. So budgeting the first tenth is key, not so much the day or time it gets paid out. And I think that's alongside of the thing. Like, you're budgeted your payday, your paycheck from this. So if your tithe comes out of the credit card and then you immediately pay it, or you just know you have the money set aside to pay it. I think I have no problem. I personally, again, have no problem. I don't know if my church would have a problem
I'm
with
not
that.
financing my tithes. I'm just gaming the system.
You're not financing your tithe. You're gaming. You're taking advantage, right? I mean, my church uses a points credit card. We ran a cash flow organization, but we still used a credit card to get the points for whenever a pastor took someone out to lunch, or we had to buy supplies from Walmart. We had a Best Buy credit card because they had a really good point system. Some churches don't like credit cards I know the reasons, but I'll let them tell you. So yeah, so it's, that's something you're going to have to get over.
My credit score's through the roof right now too, by the way.
That's something you're going to have to get over, and you're going to have to trust your congregation. If you don't want them to pay by credit card, you're going to have to trust them. If you don't trust them, if you say, we're not going to do this because, we can't differentiate between credit card and debit card and we don't want to whatever, I think you got bigger issues than just online giving. We're going to talk
ACH only.
Or go ACH only. But again, it's easier to Apple Pay. It's easier to grab a card out of my wallet than to try to write or insecurely write down my account numbers or try to finagle where it is in my app, because it is in the apps, but it is a little bit buried. We're going to talk about what features should a giving app have. We're going to talk about what we should avoid in our giving apps. Real quick though, first I want to share with you something new that's coming up from our friends at the Church Marketing University. They're doing a church marketing summit. It's called the Church Marketing Conference. If you get a free ticket from us, if you let them know that Search Media guys sent you over, go to churchtrainingacademy.com/free ticket. Sign up there, send us your receipt. You're going to get basically dozens of hours of content, of education, but they're not just going to say, hey, give us $70 and you can watch the videos over again. They're actually going to give you a workbook to work with and within to build out your 12-month marketing plan so you can actually have something tangible and executable when the conference is over. So it's not just, hey, watch our videos and then pay us if you want to watch them again. You're actually going to come out with a 12-month plan, and I really like that. If you let us know that you got the ticket from our link here, churchtrainingacademy.com/free ticket. Forward your receipt to us, hello@churchtrainingacademy.com. Again, hello@churchtrainingacademy.com. We're going to give you our Volunteer Assemble course. It's all about building a team of volunteers. We're going to have basically coursework. We're going to do some role playing. I'm going to interviewing other churches that are having teams do the work that they used to do by themselves. I got an interview tomorrow with a guy at a church of 50, and he's got 5 people on his media team. 10% of his church works on his volunteers on his media team. And I love that. And you're going to get that interview. There might be some other bonuses we're putting together for it, but you got to sign up with our link, churchtrainingacademy.com/free ticket. And I know, Jonathan, you're annoyed because we were talking about this in one of the Facebook groups that we're in together about promoting these kinds of conferences. But I don't mind because I know Ryan, I know the people speaking. They're going to put out some great content. And I'm putting words in your mouth.
It's your show.
I'm putting words in your mouth. Yeah, exactly. You do you, and I'll do me. churchtrainingacademy.com/free ticket. It's going to be really good stuff. Let's go into features for a giving app. Jonathan, what are the features when you're talking with clients or even for your own church? What kind of features are you looking for in a giving app?
Mobile friendly. Ideally, we'll save a credit card or debit card in some way so that you don't have to do that every single week. You can just log in. I know we'll get into different things, but like Tithely's is super easy with that with their mobile app. Um, Planning Center and some others, they're really great with that. So mobile's got to be really easy. Um, and then it's just got to make sense. There are some platforms that it's a little harder to navigate. And so um, creating a profile so that I can, like, it knows me. Some software, for example, would not allow me and my wife to be connected with separate profiles. And she pays her, like, we pay from the same account, but she pays her tithes differently than I do because she's a biweekly employee.
Hmm.
So she sits down to do that every other week, or I sit down to do it every week for me. But we don't do it under the same login. So to some people, that's a big deal. To others, it's not. Um, one thing we have in the notes is integrating with your website. And I'm 50-50 on that one. If you
Okay.
can do it directly from your website, awesome. I know they're like most of them, you can either do an embed code or something or a pop up. If not, and you just have to link over and click a button, that's not that big of a deal. So if there's a software, like I know embedding Realm doesn't work too well sometimes. Easy Tithe is not very well embeddable at times, but the times I've used those, I just click a button to give and it pops open a new tab,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
so it's super easy. So the integrating with your website, it's convenient and it's nice, but it's not a deal breaker. So those would probably be mine.
Yeah. Okay. So speaking of the integrating with your website, that could actually mean two different things. That could mean, hey, we pull directly within your website, and you don't have to do anything. Just log in with your Planning Center account or whatever account, and we'll automatically link it up. And you've got really good looking embedded forms. That's one way to do it. You could also do embed codes. Most people will give you an embed code or some kind of pop up code, like Rebel Give. Like it's actually some kind of injected code, and it creates this whole pop up experience on your website. That's a nice to have. My only concern is when you link out to the giving app, either through a new window or a new tab or whatever, it's just another piece of friction that the administration has to remember, because sometimes the app will update, the link will update, or the website will update, and it breaks something in that button and it no longer works, and you've got a field phone call. So I like it when it just integrates or embeds right into the website. But a button that opens up a new
That's the
link,
ideal.
yeah, a button that opens up a new link, it's not a deal breaker. In fact, I'm building a mobile app right now through Subsplash with a church using another giving app. And basically inside of Subsplash, we just say, hey, when they click the give button, open up a new browser window. And we're kind of used to that because not all app has embedded browsing.
Hmm.
Absolutely easy to use. Make sure it's mobile friendly. And I like to say, make sure it has an ACH option. ACH options, it's maybe you can give us some tips on how to communicate how much better that is for the church on the back end. I find that anytime we try to communicate it, it just confuses people by saying, hey, if you give with a card, we have to pay 3% to the big brother, but if you give by ACH, it's only a quarter. And then people get all freaked out because, oh my gosh, my tithe isn't going to this place. And it's usually we just say, just pay from your bank. It's easier, it's automatic, and it's instant. But I require in my giving apps that ACH be an option because of how easy it is for both the member and the church. Do you have any tips on communicating that? Just I'm asking you at this point.
I don't think it's worth communicating it
Okay.
from a big picture stage standpoint. If someone has a question, by all
Mm.
means,
Mm-hmm.
answer the question. And but I think that is such a minute detail that 98% of your people are not going to care about. So
Mm.
to communicate that from stage or on the website, it's presenting a problem that most people don't know exists.
That's
And
absolutely
so
right. Yeah. And that's kind
um,
of where you get into that confusing through more information. Like
right.
it's really good. And we do that a lot in church, right? We try to give all the information out there and we end up scaring people away. So I think that's a really good point. So thank you for
So I'll
clarifying
give you a
that.
story. You mentioned story brand. I'll give you a story brand example that I would use right here if I was talking with
Go
a
for it.
church. Every piece. So our brains are wired to. We're always trying to figure out if the information we're getting helps us survive or thrive. So we're constantly burning calories as anytime we hear something. So imagine anytime you're communicating to your people, they are walking on a treadmill. And every piece of advice or information you give them is an 8-pound slippery bowling ball. How many bowling balls can they get before they drop them and walk away? Usually it's two or three. And the ACH piece is the explaining that is just going to be another bowling ball. It's another confusing piece that they may not have. So if online giving is new to you, online giving in general is a bowling ball. Putting your credit card in is another bowling ball. Those are the two biggest ones. You give more than that, is it secure? That's a bowling ball. Those are the ones that are probably more important to answer from a big picture standpoint than, oh, ACH saves us $2.
I like it. I love it. I love having you on. I might just fire Dave and just have you on the show just to make sure we communicate it. I'm just kidding. So what features, what things should we avoid? Me personally, I'll start with this. There's so many good options out there that have the typical fee of 2.9% plus a quarter or whatever. Anytime I see, usually they're charity softwares, anything I see something that takes a higher percentage, just isn't worth it. Just isn't worth it. And some people
There's
get
too
really
many good things that take less.
That's right. And a lot of people get real excited, especially on our Church Media Hack show. We accept super chats and people get real excited. They get real wide eyed. I can see them from across the country through my YouTube and they say, YouTube takes donations. Like we could use that for my church. No, don't do that. YouTube takes 30%. Okay. You also have to be careful when you're building a mobile app, because if you take donations within the mobile app, Apple has a claim to 30% of that. So there's a lot less friction there, but you're going to get a lot less going towards your actual church and ministries. So 3% is the max, and really technically it's 2.9. Some organizations will give you discounts based on if you also use their other services. For example, Subsplash Giving, I think if you have a Subsplash website and app, you get a discount on their giving fees. Other organizations, the longer you spend with them, the less percentage they take. Other organizations, if you can prove you're a 501c3 nonprofit, they take a less percentage. Again, you just kind of have to do your research. Any other thoughts on fees, Jonathan? I think
For the most part, you got to go into it knowing you're going to pay, but you're going to bring in more money, so it's going to make up for it.
That's right. Would you rather have $0 or $19.71? Like, that's the question. Yep. Also, if they just don't do an ACH option, I haven't seen one in a long time that doesn't do that. And then also something recently, I have started only recommending giving platforms that have options for the donors to cover the fee. This is something that's a little bit newer. So not every organization has it, but I'm noticing, especially the ones that I'll recommend, have an option for the donors to cover the fee. So again, if I give $100, it's going to say, would you like to cover the processing fees, and give $103? And of course, I'll say yes. And like I said, the data says around 8 out of 10, 4 out of 5 people will say yes. So you are in fact getting $100 instead of $98.02 or whatever the math is. So personally, when I consult with churches now, I say, make sure your app, something I highly recommend, is that they have the option for donors to cover the fee. It's not a requirement, but it's a nice to have. And a lot of my favorites now do that. So I'm really glad that everyone's jumping on that bandwagon. Any other thoughts on things to avoid in a giving app?
I mean, bad administration on the back end. Like if there's no reporting, reporting is huge. And so if they don't have a good reporting option for your admin side of things, I would run.
Yes, 100%. I did not realize how important that was until I started working full time at a church. I remember we were searching for church management systems, and there was one I had in mind. And we went through all the demo, we went through all the presentation stuff, and we went through hands-on stuff, and the administration came back and said, we just can't run the reports we need. And I'm like, what reports do you need? How dare you? Then I actually became full-time, and I started realizing how valuable those reports are, and how much detail that you can see actually where you're winning and what you need to double down on, and what's causing people to slip out of the cracks. I mean, it's slip through the cracks. It's reports really are key in learning what's working and what's not. And so absolutely, I really like that. Any lacking report is definitely a concern. So let's go into our favorite apps. Finally, people are in the chat, keep asking, what platforms do you like? What platforms should we consider? Just remember, these, and none of ours, I think, we have referral codes. So these are truly from just experience of working with our clients and working within our own churches. I've been a part of 3 churches now in the last 14 years. So personally, I've seen multiple platforms, and with my clients, I've seen even dozens. I still have potential clients tell me what giving software they use, and I've never heard of it. They are out there. They're a dime a dozen. But my favorites, Tithely. super easy to use. They were the lowest in fees for a long time. Now I think it's gotten more competitive, and very simple, great customer service, great leadership. Rebel Give, this is from the Pro Church Tools folk, Brady Shearer. Pretty brand new, but they nail the design, they nail the efficiency, they are always improving. You do, however, you do have a monthly fee. So you actually don't pay per transaction, you pay a monthly fee. For some, that's out of the bag, so just know that. I have one client that's using it, and we are very satisfied with what's happening, and the increase in donations, especially during the pandemic, makes the monthly fee a non-issue. Planning Center Give. If you use Planning Center as your church management software, the Give app is very simple, easy to use. And then one that doesn't get a lot of love, it's very simple and it's very easy. It's called DonorBox. You can search DonorBox. This is great for one-time small fundraisers. You actually have zero fees up to the first $1,000. So if you just want to do a small fundraiser to raise, some bucks for a new camera, or to raise for one kid to go to youth camp, you need $600. You can use something like DonorBox. It integrates easily into your website, and you don't pay any fees as long as it's a small donation. So I really like that. I've used that for a couple small student organization fundraisers. It's been really easy. Jonathan, what are your favorite giving apps?
My favorite two are probably Planning Center and Tithely. But I've also had people use Subsplash and be really successful with. I've had people use Easy Tithe. So like we've been saying the whole time, it's all what works best for you.
That's right.
I like pretty, so Tithely and Planning Center are two of the prettiest. Mm-hmm. But I mean, that's such a low thing that matters. They work really well too. Absolutely. So there's a lot out there that can do exactly what you need.
I am working with a client right now, and we're building out a Subsplash website and app, and Subsplash Giving. If you already have a Subsplash app and Subsplash website, or one of the two, if you move over to their giving software, you actually get a discount on your monthly app costs. Your giving processing fee goes down. I think even your setup fee, if you're just going in brand new, goes down. That's one of the good things about having kind of one environment. It's the Apple model. You can actually have things integrate and work together. Easy Tithe is owned.
Tithely has an app now too.
Yes, they just announced it, right?
And Tithely does events. So
yeah.
Here's the thing. Sorry to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
Where I see this all going, there is an arms race to combine your church media software, your giving, your groups, your events, and your app. These guys are all. That's why it's so good right now, is because they're all trying to make the best product and get all of these things to work together. So find you a system you like, and then just go in on it.
Absolutely. And you might, a lot of times FOMO does that with us. Like, we say, oh, we're going to move to this website, but we really like this giving. We're already here. We don't want to try anything new. They don't have this one feature, and you're going to end up paying another % processing fee. And over time that can add up. So, explore that. And a lot of these organizations too, because of the competitiveness, they don't lock you into a contract, because that's something that can cause them to lose business or potential business. So, you can find out on the front end, you can try it for a few months, and really all you have to do is change some numbers and change some code on your website, and you can move on to whoever you like, or move back to whoever you don't like. Jonathan, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate your time. Tell people, if they want to learn more about Jonathan and everything that you do, tell people where they can find you.
So the easiest place is jonathancarone.com, Carone. That'll have links to my business, to the two podcasts I host, and then the freebies I give away. One is just a general marketing PDF, and the other one is an email sequence to help you find out what makes your church unique and how you can communicate that to people.
Excellent. Jonathan, thanks so much for being here. But as always, like we say, it's one thing to listen and take notes. It's another thing to execute and make it happen. So take everything you've learned and go change lives.